Can anyone catch them, do you think?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, unbelievable. We didn't expect that.
As unbelievable as it sounds, this is another Arsenal podcast. That is the Away Gooners podcast. We bring news and reaction from Arsenal fans from all over the world. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Away Gooners podcast. We've got the gang back. Hi Bob, hi Aaron, hi Deepak.
Hello.
Hello.
Seems like quite a bit of time before we are talking about transfers again. Maybe because we had those wish list episode and talked about the whole squad in general. So I thought we could catch up on what has happened with Arsenal and what is happening and what will happen. So just to start with, Arsenal have signed two players, not one, not one, not one and a half, or not probables, not Ben White. We have signed actually two players since the last time we spoke. Nuno Tavares for the left back position and Albert Sambi Lokonga, the midfielder. We have also started watching those two players, right? We have seen them play in two of the preseason games. So it seems un-Arsenal-like to sign a player as quick as this is, and then to have them play in the preseason. This is kind of new for me, right? We would be signing at the end of the transfer window where we don't know who is going to come in, and then there will be a couple of games that are done, and then suddenly this player comes in, and we are saying, oh, we need time for them to settle into the team because the first time we see them, they don't have any preseason and anything. This seems odd for Arsenal, Bob, right?
No, absolutely not, Matt. See, I have a different view on this. With both Tavares and then the Lokonga signings, the deal was agreed in principle long time back.
That is what we have been saying about Ben White. The deal has been he's in London, medical's almost done, but nothing's happening.
There's always a case with our players have longer quarantines, longer holidays, longer things to sort out with their personal things. It's always the case with Arsenal. And so is the case with Tavares and Lokonga as well, if you look at it. I mean, finally, for Arsenal to, spell out that they have signed Lokonga, Anderlecht had to put in the tweet saying that bye-bye Lokonga, and then quickly delete it out for Arsenal to come back and confirm. That's pretty much as to how they urged, Arsenal to actually announce the move. Last time when we spoke, we almost we were almost certain that the deal had actually gone through. It was just a matter for them to come into London, and then whilst we were talking, I remember Tavares was already in quarantine, and then the deal was just waiting to be announced. That did happen that week. But then the week after, Lokonga as well traveled in, and then he had to be on quarantine as well, following the protocols. And then finally that got announced as well. And right since we last spoke, Tavares has featured in a game against Rangers, and he has even scored a goal. So you can see him in motion already.
Arun, so talking about Tavares, right? Are you pegging him as someone who is going to push for the left back starting position, or are you going to be putting him as like a player who's going to be an understudy for Tierney?
But I see him maximum as a backup for Kieran Tierney. If Kieran Tierney doesn't get injured, there's no reason for him to get replaced at any point in time during the season. Tavares is young. He's coming from a completely different league. And looking at him, it seems like he's one of those more attacking left backs. He's very good at attacking, but not someone who can defend really well, which is sort of becoming the norm for the modern wing back. People who are exceptionally good at attacking, probably those who got converted from being wingers to fullbacks. He looks like one of them. When Kieran Tierney is not injured, he rarely goes out of form, right? So there is no possibility of Tavares probably ever getting a chance to play in the league unless KD gets injured. So I'm assuming he's probably going to be someone who's right now. I don't think he's going to be having the pressure of having to push KT right in his first season. especially coming from a different league and the fact that he's very young. So he'll be getting his time to like be an understudy, like you said, like a backup who probably plays in the Carabao Cup, maybe in the FA if we need to give KT rest. But outside of that, I don't really see him like sort of pushing KT in the first season now.
Have you seen any YouTube compilations? Are you an expert in Nuno Tavares yet?
I've seen enough YouTube compilations of former players to actually, know that I shouldn't be doing that anymore. So yeah, I even like who was the winger from Norwich that Buendia.
Buendia.
Yeah, so that was the last compilation I saw. After that, there were no more compilations.
Interesting.
I'm seeing Higuain and Maria compilations still.
Oh yeah, don't forget Ben Carvalho. Sorry, William Carvalho. Yeah,
William Carvalho. Oh my God. But Deepak, about the other signing, right? Albert Sambi Lokonga. What about him? Because there seems to be a lot of talk about him choosing Arsenal rather than, that he's a very hot commodity, and everyone from Company to Henry to everyone basically linked with Belgium has already said that he's going to be a next big thing or whatever. So do you see him being, or is it just hype around him, or because it is the same kind of hype that we had about Guendouzi when he came to us. But do you see him pushing for a starting lineup, or do you see him more as an understudy to Partey?
With the midfield we have right now, he can definitely push for a starting position. Like for sure. Like who else is left after Partey? It's just El Neni and Willock, or I even like leave out Willock. It's just El Neni if Xhaka leaves. So definitely he can start some games unless we want to sign like a Marquee signing like Aouar or let's say Neves or someone. So he would be definitely like fighting for a starting position. About the hype, I am not sure. Like until like a player plays a full like one complete season well, I wouldn't like believe in those hypes. We know like how Partey played. We know like how Guendouzi played. So we'll let him be whoever like the Belgium's next Kevin De Bruyne or any shit until he performs well. Like nothing is written. So yeah, let's see. I think he would push for starting position given the state of our midfield. So yeah.
But did you see him play in any of the?
No, I didn't watch any preseason games. No.
Yeah. Okay. Bob,
I don't believe in this stupid preseason games. It's just like training. So like.
Bob, your take on both the signings. So whom are you more excited about? Personally, I'm more excited about this Lokonga guy because I saw some of the preseason game and he seems like really good. He seems someone who could link up right away. He seems someone who could play further up the pitch. Like he has a more vertical run than most of our midfield who go side by side. He pushes forward, so that is something that I noticed, and I like that about him. And he's very young, and he used to be a captain of his club. So there is more qualities that I like about him than. I'm excited about Nuno Tavares too, but I like Lokonga, the looks of him more. So what are your judgments on both players?
I kind of like both of them to be very fair. I like what Tavares is actually bringing to a team in terms of his attacking instincts. Even Tierney, for say, is an attacking fullback, but then Tavares seems to be having more of that in his game from what we've seen, little that we've seen so far. And having said that, there could as well be instances where both of them could be deployed on the left-hand side, for an extra attacking threat. In fact, he could even get converted into a winger if it holds good. But yeah, coming to Lokonga, he's been highly rated by Company, and that actually the relationship which Company has with Arteta paved way for Lokonga to sign for us rather than for anyone else. considering that it would be hard for him to break into any of the top 6 midfield at the moment. Arsenal would be more likely to do so. And given that he's been knocking on the doors for Belgium and he's been as well on their provisional squad, means that he's got the capabilities right up to the top level. Now they are the #1 ranked team in the world. So for him to perform at the levels of what they expect means that he should be doing something really good. And all that we can hope for is just he continues to improve his game under the tutelage of Arteta at Arsenal. So that's pretty much what we could expect for Lokonga. I'm sort of excited at both of them, although you could see that they've been carefully bought with the long-term view. I don't see them like starting straight away, considering that we might still potentially make moves for other bigger names or potentially other players who could come in, fit into the starting slots, but they are not a bad options if you look at as a backup from the bench.
That has been what has been lacking with Arsenal for quite some time, right? That the bench strength.
Bench strength has been really very poor. We've been filling up slots lately, especially in the last year or so. We did speak much in detail about the goalkeeping situation during our last recording, where we said, Lennard didn't probably have anyone on the bench who could force him to, out of his starting 11. And that happened. That complacency kicked in for a lot of other players as well. Maybe that's the reason as why some of them didn't perform to the levels that they should in a midfield. Dani Ceballos, despite making mistakes every single game, he was actually getting the nod. Meant that there was no one to actually upset him from the starting 11. So things like that shouldn't continue to happen, and which is where Arsenal are carefully making that step in trying to bring someone who can readily start pushing, at the same time be available to start at point when required.
That's
just yeah. If I can just I just have a point there. Like I understand that when you spoke about Leno, the fact that there was no second goalkeeper to push him meant that he was sort of becoming complacent, and that probably led to his levels dropping. But how is it justified that we're being linked with goalkeepers from relegated teams? Are these the ones who are going to come and push Leno to be better? What is the logic behind all this? Both Ramsdale has been a part of 2 relegated teams. Sam Johnston is not he's also a part of a relegated team, and we are being linked with these guys. When we want someone to push Leno, how can we expect these guys to push Leno?
Actually, if you look at the goalkeepers who are available on the market or who are in demand in the market, it's the goalkeepers who've been with teams who've been relegated around. So history tells you that the worst performing teams are the ones which are actually busiest in the goal. So when your shot stopping ratios will be rocketing, if you are actually a decent keeper, your abilities or your skills that you show in those situations will help you propel your price, or it will help the clubs to actually sell their players. And most likely in relegated teams, even if you look at it, most likely that the goalkeepers would be their best players. Like Areola, for example, at Fulham. Despite doing really terrible, Joachim Andersen and Areola were actually at the top performing players, which goes on to show that in their absence, the team could have performed even worse, not any better.
But again, Bob, in that situation, for me, the only counter is that nowadays, at least in the modern football or whatever they are calling right now, the goalkeeper is not a position that's about shot stopping. Almost all goalkeepers are good shot stoppers. That's not going to be a consideration about a goalkeeper that we want to buy. So shot stopping it is deemed default at this moment. So especially from relegated
playing abilities, yes.
Yeah, so especially from the relegated teams, if shot stopping is the ability that is being displayed by the relegated teams, then it doesn't make sense for Arsenal to go for a shot stopper, because we could get shot stoppers anywhere. So we need someone who could do something that Leno could not do, or something that Leno is lacking, right? So that part
Only
is.
reason we are
But if you look at it, Vijay, in a flip side, who is available in the market that you can lure to Arsenal within the budgets and constraints that you have? Mind you, you have 5 to 6 other positions to be filled in various other areas, in midfield, and then in attack, and probably in defense as well, with fullback and so on, all those sort of things. You have a lot of gaps to be filled within the team, and you have to make the optimum choice who you think would be able to improve into the system that you're trying to put into, but at the same time be effective enough to do the things that they are supposed to do.
Okay, Deepak, you were
the
about to say
only thing
something.
Ramsdale will improve. The only thing Ramsdale will improve is our homegrown quota. That's it. Nothing else.
Also, that's a vital one, Deepak. If you look at things, we had to.
See, if we are trying to sign, if you are trying to improve the homegrown quota, for instead of signing Ramsdale for 30 million, just sign Sam Johnston for lesser price and be done with it. Because I feel both are on the same level.
Yeah, plus like if the Leno's problem never was shot stopping, it was more about like his distribution, his organizing his defense. If Ramsdale is a good shot stopper, then we are going to be filling the second position as well with a similar keeper who doesn't like provide any other attributes, So that's why I'm like really confused. Why are we pushing for these guys? Like, is the fact that we need a homegrown quota player so important that we would be willing to risk 30 million on such a player and not worry about the other areas? You can fill your homegrown quota like through other positions as well. It doesn't have to be goalkeeper, especially when it's a problem area.
See, I think there is also an element where we are not aware of many of the things which are happening at the back of the club, but there has been feelers that Leno is sort of wanting to look at a different experience, potentially one with an European football and all those sort of things. Although that hasn't materialized as much as such, there's been a lot of talks going on before.
One moment, Bob. Sorry to cut you off. In that situation, if Leno does really want to go away for a new challenge, then getting Ramsdale that makes even less sense, because that means you're going to push this guy to be your number one. Again, I agree with you that probably the goalkeepers and maybe the centre backs from relegated teams are the ones who worked hardest and they're the ones who are shining. But still, he is a relegation team's goalkeeper. He's definitely not going to improve us in any significant way. So we are again going to be spending 30 million on probably a lost cause.
For me,
Pickford was actually signed from a relegated team, Sunderland, when he got signed.
And Pickford is still not like a great goalkeeper.
He's of course, but he took England to the Euros. So if you look at his
England
value
is
now
different.
What it was.
His form for Everton has been shit for 2 years.
Yeah, plus like England have before him, he had like 4 or 5 of really good defenders. Luke Shaw was in the form of his life. Maguire was having a great partnership with him. Like you have John Stones, you have like your right back. They have the 4, if you want to see the 4 who were in front of Pickford in England, and you compare that with our 4. There's no comparison.
What are you trying to imply here, Arun? That Holding is not good enough? That Hector Bellerin is not good enough? What are you talking about? We have
okay, maybe those two, maybe those two on the right, yeah, but the left.
We just spoke about Tierney and Tavares.
But anyways, let me put a lid on the goalkeeper links though, because we don't know what is going to happen. But for me, especially, the problem is not about. The problem is sort of about the type of player that we are linked to. But the bigger problem for me in that is the valuation that this player has been put in. Like if we are signing Aaron Ramsdale for like less than 5 million or less than 10 million, not even 10 million, 7 million, I would be happy. Banding a 20 million, 30 million tag over him is what is making this deal kind of doesn't look good for me, right? If it was like less than 7 million, I would be very happy, because especially looking at it from the point of view that last season we sold our number 2 for 20 million. And now we are planning to, even if he's going to be a number 2, or even if he's going to be a number 1, we are planning to buy someone for 20 or 30 million. Doesn't make sense for me. The valuation
makes us look even stupid, right? Yeah, of course.
The valuation is where
it's
the
like
problem is.
signing.
But
Ramsdale
Vijay,
is
look at
basically
on the
like
bright side. On the west of London, there is a keeper who is sitting for 70 million on the bench. Look at on the bright side. There are some brighter things as well.
No,
that
but Bob, that team in West London that you're talking about can afford to do that and still manage to win trophies.
Yeah, they are planning to
So
go
there's
for
huge difference.
they are planning to go for Haaland when
Yeah,
we are
exactly. And we've been
when we
struggling
are
to get.
signing Ben White for some 4 months.
Yeah.
They get linked to someone in the morning, and in the evening they have almost signed them, and then we are talking about Arsenal. So, anyways, let's put a lid on the goalkeeper situation and talk about a little bit further on someone we have signed recently, whom we have missed, which is our new number 10, ML Smith Rowe. Deepak, what are your thoughts on Smith Rowe signing a contract extension and more specifically getting the number 10?
This number 10 and all is like simply like it's a useless thing. As long as he plays well in that position, I'm happy. Like, yeah, he deserves.
William Gallas played number 10 for us.
Yeah. So what is the use of having this number 10 and stuff? Like Ozil got number 10 and become so shit for Arsenal. So it is like, yeah, like he deserves a contract. I didn't want to lose him because we don't have anyone literally to play in that position. We know how poor we were until we brought in Smith Rowe in the Chelsea game. We were like completely lacking in that position. Not lacking. We didn't have anyone. So even like when Smith Rowe came in and he didn't like light up the league like or something. He did the adequate things properly, and we saw like how important is that position for us, and he did well. So I think he deserves a contract. And like I don't know what Villa was trying to do, simply bidding 2 or 3 with knowing I didn't want to lose him, but good he signed, and hope that the jersey number doesn't put too much pressure on him. I don't think so. It's a useless thing, but let's see.
No, but it seems like he asked for it, right? Like Arteta came out and said that like he asked for number 10 and
Okay,
it
let him have it and play with it, and let's see. Like, yeah, but I think he shouldn't be the only player. Like, it would be the case of Leno, probably. It might, or he might like perform like really well, or he'll be like, okay, no one is there to challenge me, and it might reduce his performance. So we should be at least signing a good. There should be a competition kind of thing. If it is Odegaard or any other number 10 or anyone, let's see. But like, I'm happy he has signed a contract. We didn't lose him again like for some peanuts.
Arun, your thoughts on Smith Rowe as a player and what he brings to the team?
Smith Rowe as a player, yeah, he's very exciting. Like I've always said, this the way in which he makes his runs and his intelligence and that burst of acceleration always reminds me of Nasri. Nasri was a similar ball carrier. He was someone who could do that give and goes and get at the end of the second pass and do more with the ball and make it progress rather than just be a stationary guy who just pings fast. So in that sense, he's going to be someone who's very vital for us. Plus his ability to not just play as a number 10, but as a number 8 or as a winger is going to be extremely crucial given that we have this history and reputation of being a sick club where crucial players get injured at the most inappropriate times. So in given that, he's going to be very crucial. But but he has a huge injury record himself. So it's going to be really important that the club actually provides another player there and not put all the burden on him. Because even in last season, when he was not actually playing all the games, he did get injured quite a bit. So with that, I think like basically the very fact that he's been given the number 10, like Deepak said, I don't really believe in numbers, but then an improvement as a number kind of shows the confidence that the club and the manager have in you. So that should really be helpful for him. knowing that the manager is backing him and the club is backing him. So I'm expecting good things from him. I'm hoping that he comes good this season and probably cements his place as one of the best younger players of the generation. It's Saka has shown it, and I'm hoping that ESR does too.
Bob, the problem with the number 10 or the whole manager trusting him with the number problem for me is that we gave Saliba number 4, and we know where he is right now. So I'm very hesitant, and we gave, I think, Ceballos number 8, something like that. So I'm very hesitant on putting that number, giving the number is earning the manager's trust. Although I love what Smith Rowe brings, and even we know from the past podcasts that I kind of see him as someone who is almost on the same potential as Saka and what's his name, Martinelli. So among these three, I'm picking one of them, or make two of them would become actual superstars. So your thoughts?
Traditionally, number is not a big thing at Arsenal. It is a burden at some of these clubs, like the number 7 at Manchester United, where after Ronaldo inherited probably. But it's not traditionally a big thing. But Arsenal, even during the Wenger days, has got this ability of, I've done this of giving the numbers to the younger players, especially after Van Persie left in a very bitter taste. More than anyone in the team, Jack Wilshere was actually given the number 10.
But he didn't play well in number 10 shirt. He played well in number 19.
I think that's a curse or something like that. That's to do with the personal injuries and stuff. But what by giving number 10 to ESR, and even before that, by giving number 7 to Saka, shows Arsenal's statement of intent that they want to reward their youngsters, even though despite knowing that we have potentially 1 or 2 players to be filled in that position during the current transfer window. And if one of them turns out to be a bigger name or a bigger player, then he could be potentially given a number 10 shirt. But having given Smith Rowe the number 10 means that we are going to stick, or the plan is going to stick with the Haaland graduates and show them that the club really cares about every one of them. And like what Arun said, it would be brutal for Smith Rowe and as well as for Arsenal if we don't go on to sign at least one of them. I would ideally want 2 of them to be replaced with both Odegaard and Ceballos, who are there in that midfield positions. I would want both of them to be replaced by able and capable persons, but then at least it would be completely suicidal if we don't go with anyone. I'm pretty sure we won't, but yeah, I'm just telling you.
Mm-hmm. That is, from incoming perspective, yes. But what I'm more asking is about what do you expect of Smith Rowe this season? Right? Do you see him as
Smith Rowe will be having similar expectations like what he did last year. There wasn't anything expected out of him, and he was able to do decent stuff, as what the guys spoke about. And I think the expectation from an Arsenal perspective, fans would have their over expectations as always, but in terms of the club's expectations, they would just expect him to perform in the levels that he has done in the last season. That's it. So as long as he is continued to do that, he should be doing okay. And if he can actually help make a difference in 1 or 2 games, or even more than that, that's actually a welcome change that we would want.
I want him to score more goals.
Mm-hmm.
We imagine this whole thing. We played with the hole in the midfield behind the strikers, whole of first part of the season, and even with that, if we are managed to finish 8th, I could just I'm quite pleased with how the contribution that Smith Rowe has done, but that should not be counted in with him performing at the same level in the same sort of a fashion, because it was just a time, it clicked for us.
But we already touched on the other side, other thing, that we have been signing Ben White from the start of this window, and still he is traveling, having medicals tomorrow, or on the verge of signing. What is happening, Deepak? What the hell is happening with Ben White? Are we signing, or is this going to happen? And in the middle, we are fighting with like United fans about like Rafael Varane or Ben White. Why? They announced
I
Varane.
don't know, like, yeah, I know. I don't have any idea like what's happening. Probably it's because he was on vacation after England's run till finals and things. So hopefully, like, I believe we will sign him. I think it is done. Like, just the medicals are pending as per the news. So I don't know why we are fighting with United fans with Varane. So it's like.
But it's also funny if you think about it. Like we are, most of our fans are hyping up Ben White without having seen a lot of him play. Whereas the other three clubs, they're like United are signing Varane, who's won Champions Leagues. Liverpool have signed Konate, who looks like a beast, and like just 4 steps of he takes 4 steps and he's covered half the pitch. You know, and we've hardly seen Ben White play, and we're like, yes, Ben White, Ben White, Ben White. I really don't understand the enthusiasm of our fans sometimes.
Ben White, but he had like a great loan spell with Leeds when he was playing in the championship, and he played under Bielsa. Bielsa, so he has like little bit of hype surrounding him, and of course 50 million is like overpriced, which is expected with English players. So as if United are making fun of us for paying 50 million when they paid 80 million for that Maguire. But he has been like really good for them. Like he has been their best player, I would say, like for the past 2-3 seasons, but 2 seasons or something. So I don't think like 50 million is too much, given he is English, he's young, he's a homegrown or something, which is expected. Like, and he had little bit of hype surrounding him. So I don't think so. Hopefully, it turns out to be like a good signing and plays like at least the level of Maguire, like for United, and like, so let's see.
So Arun, my point in the whole thing is, right, like we already touched upon it, about the homegrown quad and everything. With the Brexit, there has been talks that it is going to be difficult to bring players from outside the league. Is that why Arsenal is looking at signing a lot of English talent? Because we have not traditionally been a club who signs a lot of English talents, right? We have been the club who brings players from outside the league, at least from Wenger times. But it seems like this season or this time we are linked with all English talent, and like if you consider Ramsdale or Ben White or Neves or not Neves, Madison or whatever, right? So this also, and Ben White is 23, 24, is he?
23.
So
23.
Yeah, so the age profiles are very, very young. We are not going for even like, usually we go for like 27. When we want a starter in our team, we always go for like this 20, about 25, less than 30 years of age. Having a 23-year-old is hyped up as a starter for center back position. And while the other center back for us would be like Gabriel, who would be 23, 24 again.
I have a couple of different unpopular opinions on this.
Yes.
First one, you were talking about players with the age. I am actually happy that we are signing players above the age of 20. Going from signing 16-year-olds, we are signing 20-year-olds. So that is definite progress. I am actually happy about it. That's why I said it's a different unpopular opinion. Second unpopular opinion, they done with our business for this season. So that's the reason why I feel like all of this is taking a lot of time in terms of signings, because I really do not. We are being linked. Yes, you're right. We are being linked with a lot of players, especially English players. But who have we not been linked with? We have been linked with about 400 players this window. That's about like 40 players for every position. They're only that includes the good ones, the bad ones, the really good ones, the horrible ones. It went all the way from Messi to like probably the worst player that you could see in the league. Everybody was being linked with us. So just based on the speculation, I wouldn't really like go too much into it. My opinion is that we'll probably be getting like Ben White, one more goalkeeper, or like a midfielder, and that's about it. I really don't see us making any more signings. So
That's all we want.
No, we want a lot more. That's all we want.
That's all we want. Who is there in midfield?
Exactly. It depends on where you want to finish. If you want to finish in the same 8th spot, yeah, you're right. That's all we want. We want a Ben White. We want that will be good. But if we want to improve on that, we definitely need to get more players. There's a reason why guys like Guendouzi and Torreira are not playing for us, and that's another reason which makes selling them even more difficult. So given all that, there's the talk about English core is all, for me, it's all speculation. We've had an English core before, which did nothing. None of those English core players are still at the club anymore. They were supposed to be the future of the club. We were saying that, okay, we are going to be building an English dynasty with all these guys in here, and Walcott's going to become the striker, Ox is going to go on to become the winger and all that. But none of these guys are playing even for the national team anymore, except for probably Ramsey. So I really don't believe in this concept of this English core or buying English players. And no, you buy a player that fits the profile and that suits your needs. So all these speculations, I wouldn't put too much thought into it. But yeah, I don't think we are going to sign a lot more players.
But I look at that photo of like that 5 English per.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, what happened to these guys?
But Arun, should I be excited about Ben White or not? That's the question.
Honestly, I have not seen a lot of him play. I have always been a bit skeptical about this because he's coming from Brighton. He's coming from like a team that did not do really well. That one of the reasons that was attributed to that was the fact that they weren't scoring goals. So it doesn't seem like their defense was a problem, which means that Ben White, like Bob said, he was one of those shining lights in a team that did not do really well. So in that sense, maybe he would add stuff. His versatility is another advantage for him. He can play center back, he can play right back, and he can play defensive midfield as well. So that is another big thing which probably went in his favor. And again, even if he was a very good player, the fact that he has that English tag on him means that he's going to cost at least 20 million more. In a normal market, he would probably be like a 30 or 35 million player with a lot of potential and a high ceiling. The fact that he's English means that he's going to cost 50 million. So that's the only thing that I really know about Ben White. Is he going to do well in Arsenal? I hope he does, but I really don't know much about it. That's why I'm like very unsure when I see all these facts going. Yes, Ben White, he's going to come and change us. Like in what way? What is making you think that he's going to fix a broken defense that doesn't have a leader anymore? You're putting too much pressure on that player to come and be the leader of the defense. And I'm assuming that if he's going to start, then Holding is not, which means that we're going to lose another leader, sort of a leader, if you could call Holding. So I really don't know if he's the right player. I really don't know if he's going to make a huge impact. So in terms of all that, for me, the Ben White signing, I hope he comes good, but I absolutely do not know a lot about him.
Bob, now that Arun has put a lot of dampener into the Ben White situation, I mean, it sort of makes sense, especially since even for me, it looks like even though he's younger, he kind of has this. He's now playing for England. He represented England in the Euros, and he played almost all games. So
he didn't play any game. He was just in the squad.
Oh yeah. So yeah. But he was in the squad. I mean, Holding was not even in the squad. So that is an upgrade.
Well, please, no. We are not looking for an upgrade on Holding. If that's what we are looking for, then our ambitions are wrong. No, Holding doesn't. He doesn't. Yeah, there's a reason why he's not there in the squad, because he's not good enough.
No,
So
but
let's not
but
forget
but
about
but,
that move.
but that is the thing, right? But that is the thing that I'm making the point, right? We are looking for an upgrade on Holding, but we are also looking for someone who could take us forward. So
I feel I have a slightly different opinion on Ben White. I think the reason as to why we've gone for him ahead of anyone else is the fact that we wanted someone homegrown, possibly to fill up the quota in case we are not able to get any homegrown players in the other departments that we're looking for. And we know that he was sort of interested in coming to Arsenal. He commanded a huge transfer fee. That was because, of course, he is English. And then the second thing is he just signed a contract extension last year at Brighton, which made him really, which made all the chips, bargaining chips with Brighton for them to command the fee. And then it was pretty much scenario where we had to accept what they said. And they wanted something guaranteed upfront rather than all these bonuses and additions, because all these bonuses that we are going to set, they know that we are not anyway going to achieve any of them. So which meant that Brighton got a very good deal out of all these things, and I'm pretty sure he is in a way justified if he at least manages to keep the levels at whatever that he's been doing with Brighton, or even at the time that he spent at Leeds. He's highly rated, so it's not comparing apples to oranges. Varane, of course, have actually won a lot of trophies, and then he's been the fulcrum of whatever that they've been achieving at Madrid. But there is something Ben White offers as an advantage against what Varane could not. It's the fact that he is actually already played in the Premier League, means that he is as well featured in the Championship, the one against, for Leeds, in a very tough situation. And then if he's been able to perform week in, week out at a 46 game level, then it means that he's got something which we can make use of, as well as the fact that he can actually improve upon in our team. So it's a no-brainer for us in my regard. And then I think as we speak today, his medical has happened. So which means that his deal is imminent, just waiting for that to be announced out, possibly towards the end of the week, so we can just move on from that.
So is it going to
move on and close the window? That's it.
No, but talking about the window, right? We are still linked with a plethora of midfielders, and that is one of the concerning areas for me.
200 of them.
Yeah, but that is the concerning area for me, Bob, is that there seems to be no profile of the midfielder that we seem to want, right? Like, because of all the players that we are linked to, there doesn't seem to have this one feature, or we are not going for like a defensive midfielder, or we are not going for a ball carrier, or we are not going for a replacement for Xhaka. We're not having a particular trait that we are looking for, because every player that we are linked to is different. Like, we are linked to Jordan Henderson, which doesn't make sense. Why would he come from Liverpool to here, and his age profile is all wrong? He is Mr. Liverpool. We know what happens when we get like players.
But look at his injury record.
Yeah, but still, like we have
look at his injury record. He fits us perfectly.
Yeah. So see, there is an unwritten thumb rule. Just like how before writing books and all those sort of things, many authors write a preface. So it's just like before starting to engineer a move or starting to make a move, every agent will first unanimously link them to us. It will actually bring them a sort of good luck for them, in their pursuit of the journey, and finally end up more than what they asked for. Some unfortunate ones end up here, not to be taken back. But Henderson is one classic scenario where they know that we need midfielder, and he's sort of in a contract situation where it either needs to be extended now, or it probably would not happen at all. So, and it makes no brainer for the agent to actually link Henderson with us. Whether it's going to happen, it's rhetorical. We don't even need to go into answering these things, because it's never going to happen. So, I think you are right in a way that the people are being linked to are completely different profiles. If you look at Locatelli, for example, Locatelli offers a different game, and then
Locatelli is
Ruben
done.
Neves does.
Let's not talk about Locatelli. He's done. He's not going to come to us.
Locatelli, I still have my hopes when until or unless somehow Juventus manages the books, because Juventus are in a tremendous financial pressure.
Yeah.
The 2 or 3 teams which have not officially pulled out of the Super League so far is Juventus, Madrid, and Barcelona. And the reason as to why, despite knowing Varane is actually one of their best ever players, they are moving. I mean, they're still selling him on because of the fact that that's in the dire state that they are. And Juventus is in a similar position, and they've got Ronaldo on their books, 37-year-old, who can't offer as much, in terms of what they're seeking, Champions League glory and all those sort of things. So, which means that Juventus are not once the Juventus are still not the Juventus that we know them like 2 years back and all those sort of things. So there is still a glimmer of hope left in me that maybe if they could not pull anything, we could present a better option for him, and then we could still manage to sign him. I don't know. I mean, there's still 0.5% or even lesser than that for that to happen. So, but I'm saying that until it is done, it's still a possibility, right? And we are just talking about possibilities here. But
this
back
is
to my point.
This exactly is what folks. Yes. This exactly is what folks Arsenal fans' delusion sounds like.
This is what the agents also think. Okay, let's link a player, and these guys will cook up something and put in Twitter. We will get more exposure.
It's made guys like Fabrizio, he knows that definitely we are all going to go and like his stuff as soon as he posts. So he's just changing his tweets by 1 word or 2, and then reposting the same thing over and over again. We've led to the birth of this monster called Fabrizio Romano. He was nowhere a couple of years ago. Now he's everywhere.
But Deepak, but it's again the same question, right? Neves would be exact same replacement as Xhaka. And the other person that's linked to was Aouar. I don't know if he's linked to yet or not. Is there any other names that you would like? I mean, is there any other names that I'm missing that we are rumored to be linked to? I mean, apart from the wild things about like Coutinho being linked and all those things, like actual links, as in like these can happen, like not something.
For me, the most funniest was Jordan Henderson. I think I don't even know how that got started. He's like a captain
Deepak,
of
actually, I'll tell you even a funnier one, but we'll get to that section and then I'll talk about him. Okay. It's Lautaro Martinez that we've been linked
to.
Yeah. So any other names?
I don't think so. Like, no, none of these names are coming up. Like, I don't think so. Like, if Xhaka doesn't leave, I don't think so we'll sign anyone.
Yeah. If he doesn't leave, we're not signing anyone.
Yeah. That's it.
I would agree. I don't know how or why Bissouma's talks have died down.
Yeah.
Locatelli looks least possible, but still there's been a lot of talks going on for him. Bissouma likes more likely possible, and I mean when you compare to the price which is being quoted for Neves, Bissouma should come rather cheaper, and he's being proven in the Premier League already. So, but I don't know why he's not been. I mean, there's not been talks much lately. I think everyone's playing the waiting game in terms of who ends up there and then which ones are left for us to actually grab. Because
Brighton said
first ones anyway.
Maybe Brighton said I will only give one player. Get out.
Ben White, get out. That's it. No. But Arun, so let's because you are of the hour thing. So let's finish the midfield talk. Maddison, is it going to happen or no?
No.
Odegaard, are we signing him or no?
No.
Aouar, are we signing him or no?
Maybe.
So let's start with the maybe.
Aouar, yeah. One main thing, pricing. We have penny pinchers. Ours costing 17 million. We'll try to bring it down to 15 million and maybe get him. Madison completely out of reach. Plus, yeah, he's not as injury prone as people make him to be, but his every injury lasts for long. He's doesn't not someone who gets injured a lot, but his one injury took a lot of his time. So that means that he's not someone who could probably be always relied upon. Plus the pricing, 60 million on an attacking midfielder. I don't think we are going to be spending, even though that is a very required position. No, I don't think Madison's going to happen. Odegaard again would be a very good option, but wouldn't provide any sort of goals. Out of the three, the problem where we're lacking is in terms of scoring goals. Madison is the only option who can probably score goals and create as well. Odegaard doesn't give you any goals, and neither does Aouar. So in that sense, Madison is like a very good option. But us being us, we would just get linked with guys like him, and then finally back outsiding the price to be an issue. More than anything, I think it's the fact that we haven't been able to get anyone off apart from Guendouzi off our books is going to be a huge dampener in any sort of a deal. So that's where I think like a 60 million Madison is sort of like a distant dream. When you have even an Odegaard, if he's going to cost 40 million, that 40 million was supposed to probably come from the sale of a couple of midfielders. We haven't managed to sell even one. Guendouzi has gone only on loan, and there's no obligation to buy either. There's I think like a 13 million clause or something, but it's like not a complete obligation, right? And Torreira is still on our books. We haven't managed to sell. So if you look at the price perspective, that leaves Madison at 60 and Odegaard at 40 out of it, which means that Aouar is the only player that we are left with, and maybe Marcel Sabitzer. But then, like again, Sabitzer that has gone cold after initial speculations. So Aouar is probably the one that I think we could get, since mainly because of the price and the fact that we were interested in him last season. He's a similar sort of a ball carrier, not a 10. So that he could possibly be used also in a 4-3-3 if Arteta is willing to play. But out of the three options that he gave me, for me, Aouar is probably the most likely, and even that is, I'm not too confident about it.
But we need a midfielder for sure. There is no other way. If Xhaka goes, we need
you're right.
a midfielder.
You're right, but that's where I think Xhaka is not going to go. Xhaka is going to stay, and we are probably likely to just like be able to move Torreira on a loan where we would be paying his wages. Looking at the way things are going, yeah, we can like want all of these players that are part of our wish list. If you ask me if I want Madison or Odegaard, yeah, I would say definitely yes. But the fact is that it's without moving players on, and with the kind of wages that we have been paying for our players, we haven't even been able to move Kolasinac on, have we?
Yeah.
So when we have so many problems in terms of moving players, incomings it's going to be very difficult to bring in, So yeah, that's where I feel. Even though we do have the requirement, you're talking about Xhaka leaving. I'm looking at a situation where Xhaka doesn't leave. Because if Roma doesn't want to pay even the 20 million that we're asking for him, I don't think the club is going to go below that. Especially after this guy's had a very, very good Euro. That should see stocks rising, not going down. So I'm assuming that there is a possibility of Xhaka staying, more possibility of Xhaka staying than us getting a new midfielder.
But the problem is that Xhaka would be in the last year of contract if he stays, and he goes
the
free.
bigger problem is that we have not been. Nobody wants our players.
Who cares?
That's the bigger problem. Yeah. So we it's not like we have not been trying to get Xhaka to give him to another club. We have been trying. Like Mourinho wants, the manager wants him, the player wants to leave, but the clubs have not been able to sign the dotted line, which means that the clubs everybody is trying to link players to us, but nobody wants players from us. Which means that one side is going to be completely imbalanced, and that's why we see like 400 players being linked with us.
We always say he's in the last year of contract, we have to sell him, otherwise we will lose him for free. We are always like losing players for peanuts. Like 5 million or selling 10 million and selling him for free doesn't make a huge difference, and we are not going to reinvest that money like somewhere into the club. So let his contract run out and like let him go on free. And this is like we got used to this stuff. So like
It's like a same template statement every season. We should not make insert person name this mistake again. We should not make Ramsey mistake again. We should not. We'll be next season. We'll be saying we shouldn't be making Xhaka mistakes anymore or Lacazette mistakes anymore. But yeah, that has been the trend.
Do you think like if Xhaka and Lacazette signs like a 3-year extension, do you think anyone would come and pay like 50 million for these two?
Nobody would even touch them with a 10-foot pole if they sign a 3. We are probably in the best position we are right now to move on these players because they are in the last year of contract. The moment we give them a bigger contract, that means that we're going to increase their wages, which makes moving them on even more difficult at the age that they are going to be in. So we either have to sell them for what we get if we don't see them as a part of the plans, or keep them, play this season, and then let them go for free. Those are unfortunately the only 2 options that we have at this moment.
So Bob, go ahead with the outgoings.
I don't have any much to add more than what these guys have touched upon. It's pretty much the same thing. So we've got people on high wages. They didn't really mention Willian there. He's on a
I think it's been agreed that
he's not going anywhere.
He's like one of those parasites, he's caught it.
He's backup of ESR.
He's backup of Nelson. ESR's backup is Nelson. Nelson's backup is Willian. Backup to the backup.
Only change it, like in midfield is like Ceballos leaving and we signing Lokonga. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, until or unless we ship out these guys that we want to, we don't have any high stocking players going out of the club. Maitland-Niles has been doing decent, but still nobody wants him. Willock, only Newcastle can want him, but then again they can't pay him as much. We know that. And then with Xhaka, only Roma want him, and he wants to go only join Roma there because of Jose Mourinho. But they can't pay actually more than 15 million euros or 17 million euros or whatever. So which means that they are not able to meet. Hector Bellerin is wanted by Inter Milan, but they can't actually pay anything upfront, even though they've got a massive paycheck from Hakimi's sale. So that's the dire state that we are in, that if until or unless we move anyone out, we won't be able to sign even, forget about Madison or Noah and all those people. We can't even sign the next door guy, I can't actually put any pathetic names out there, but we won't be able to sign anyone there in that place. We have to ship players. There's been no talks of any outgoing so far. Nothing has been happening. And even Alex Ronarson's loan deal, the player he signed for 1.5 million, that loan deal got collapsed yesterday.
Oh yes, but again, right? Like outgoings as outgoings are. When it only when things fall into, like, it's the same thing, right? We have been talking about Ben White for a while, the same way Roma fans would be talking about Xhaka for a while, or yesterday I heard that Lyon wants or evaluating Lacazette. So maybe this is the situation with every fan base, that they have been linked and they are waiting for things to fall into place. But for me, the bigger thing.
No. Yeah. sorry to cut you off there, Vijay. So the thing is with Lyon, right? Their owner is De Laurentiis, who is actually one of the most distinguished owners that you could have ever seen in a football manager or a football ownership level. His asking price for OR was 60 million pounds last year, and we offered up to 45 million for him. But still, he didn't really agree to the fact that we didn't meet up to his asking price. And the same person has actually brought down OR's price to 25 million pounds, meaning that they are in a dire financial need as much or even probably worse than what we are. So which means that you can't actually expect Lacazette to be going more than 10 million euros, because they know he's actually turned 30 and he's not going to be adding a much value in their outgoing market as well in the future.
Yeah, but still, we need to send someone out.
Yeah, see, the way that likely it's going to happen is we will keep stagging around the same things towards the end of August, and then we will do a fire sale, or we will do a distress sale where we will either sell them for peanuts, or they will be stuck with us, or the fact that they will be loaned to all these clubs without commanding much of a fee. That's probably what's going to happen. And that will hamper all our incomings as well until that
We
point.
will cancel their contract, buyout. We will like cancel the contract FC.
Cancel the contract FC. But again, that is the reason, that is the sense of it, right? Like we have Lacazette, we have Xhaka, we have Bellerin, we have Torreira, we have Kolasinac, we have Cedric. All these are outgoings, right? All these
have been the sharpest in the training so far, as reported by various journalists. So Cedric
is starting.
He's not even in the market.
First game.
Cedric is being linked with Fenerbahce. That's
Fenerbahce. That's what I've been hearing, that he's been linked with Fenerbahce.
Don't worry, he's our starting right back.
I actually don't have a problem with Cedric and what's his name, Chambers sharing the right back role for now, because there are other positions that needs to be filled right now. Midfield is what I'm looking at to be filled right now, because that is a position that we cannot afford to like not sign someone. As in, like, we cannot afford to
Imagine Partey gets injured again. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Please go and brush your teeth. Do something. Yeah, don't say all this.
So, anyways, any other thoughts on the transfers, guys? Because I think we have talked about incomings, we have talked about outgoings, we have talked about everything. Any other thoughts that you want to put it up there?
Nobody mentioned about Tammy Abraham. 40 million that we are going to pay for Tammy Abraham, and then also the 77 million that we are going to pay for Lautaro Martinez. Come on, guys. Guys are hopeless.
Tammy Abraham, as usual, will take him on loan.
That's what we've done.
No, Tammy Abraham is not the right age profile that we get from Chelsea. So I would go Cold War. He's like 15 years younger.
Yeah, he should be
2021. We usually go for
30. 30 years is what the minimum age we would get from Chelsea. So that is the contract that we have signed with him. We'll get 30-year-olds from you for bigger contracts with high wages. Yeah. That is the way to go. Tammy Abrahams doesn't suit that unfortunately, Bob.
He idealizes Henry, so if that's the only thing which is actually tilting him towards us. I thought he was really very young until I looked up his age, which was 23. So he's not that young as such. But then
still not the cutoff age, Bob. Come on.
He's still like 7 years.
Yes.
Yeah. At least 7 years.
7 years. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Anyways, I think that should be the end of the transfer pod for today. We will talk again next week, guys. Hopefully.
The proper Chelsea player is like which we are about to sign would be Danny Drinkwater. He's 31.
Yes. The forgotten man of Chelsea. Yes.
Midfielder, and we are not linked with a lot of midfielder. That could happen. Please delete.
Plus once. No, the thing is, once we start linking him with us, like even these small speculations, Fabrizio will start picking up on it. Definitely, they'll know that we are in need, and they'll be like, okay, let's charge 35 million. No. We are not putting this out there. We are not making this a trend. Even with our limited listeners, we are not. No one mentions Danny Drinkwater, guys. This is not happening with us. Okay. Anyways, it's been a nice pod, guys. I'm very happy that we got to catch up on the transfers. We'll meet again next week, and hopefully we'll have Ben White announced before that, according to Bob. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your time. Talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.